team. So you've already done your do now for today. That's great. We're going to go ahead and get started on our work. So let me remind you about homework. You're going to do log number 1 tonight. And when you log into that assignment, or when you open that assignment, you're going to see an attachment there, and that's going to have for you all the different prompts that you can choose to respond to for your log. So you can choose any one you want. You do not have to do number 1. If you'd like to do number 5 or number 14 or whatever, you absolutely can. Okay? And then the other thing is to read up to page 21 if we don't finish in class. I'm going to read that whole thing in this video, but if you don't do it all together in one piece, you need to go back and make sure that you finish. Okay? So we're going to do our read aloud today, and then you guys are going to have time to work on your log or finish up whatever you want to do. All right, so we're going to read starting on page 14. So let me open up my PDF here, and I've got it all ready to go. All right. September 29th, 1991. Dear friend, there is a lot to tell you about the last 2 weeks. A lot of it is good, but a lot of it is bad. Again, I don't know why this always happens. First of all, Bill gave me a C on my To Kill a Mockingbird essay because he said that I run my sentences together. I'm trying now, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I'm trying now to practice not to do that. He also said I should use the vocabulary words I learn in class, like corpulent and jaundice. I would use them here, but I really don't think they're appropriate in this format. To tell you the truth, I don't know where they are appropriate to use. I'm not saying you shouldn't know them. You should, absolutely. But I just have never heard anyone use the words corpulent or jaundice ever in my life. That includes teachers. So what's the point of using words that nobody else knows or can say comfortably? I just don't understand that. I feel the same way about some movie stars who are terrible to watch. Some of these people must have $1 million at least, and yet they keep doing these movies. They blow up bad guys, they yell at their detectives, they do interviews for magazines. Every time I see this one particular star on a magazine, I can't help but feel terribly sorry for her because nobody respects her at all. And yet they keep interviewing her. These interviews all say the same thing. They start with what food they're eating at some restaurant. As blank gingerly munched her Chinese chicken salad, she spoke of love. And all the covers say the same thing. Blank gets to the bottom of stardom, love, and his or her new hit movie, television show, or album. I think it's nice for the stars to do interviews to make us think they're just like us, but to tell you the truth, I get the feeling it's all a big lie. The problem is I don't know who's lying, and I don't know why these magazines sell as much as they do, and I don't know why the ladies in the dentist office like them as much as they do. A Saturday ago, I was in the dentist office and I heard this conversation. Did you see that movie? As she points to the cover. I did. I saw it with Harold. What did you think? She is just lovely. Yeah, she is. Oh, I have this new recipe. Low fat. Uh-huh. Do you have some time tomorrow? No. Why don't you have Mike fax it to Harold? Okay. And then these ladies started talking about the one star I mentioned before, and I'm so sorry. And they both had very strong opinions. I think it's disgraceful. Did you read the interview in Good Housekeeping a few months back? Uh-huh. Disgraceful. Did you read the one in Cosmopolitan? No. God, it was practically the same interview. I don't know why they give her the time of day. The fact that one of these ladies was my mom made me feel particularly sad because my mom is beautiful and she's always on a diet. Sometimes my dad calls her beautiful, but she cannot hear him. Incidentally, my dad is a very good husband. He's just pragmatic. After the dentist office, my mom drove me to the cemetery where a lot of her relatives are buried. I'm so sorry, guys. My dad does not like to go to the cemetery because it gives him the creeps. But I don't mind going at all because my Aunt Helen is buried there. My mom was always the pretty one, as they say, and my Aunt Helen was always the other one. The nice thing was that my Aunt Helen was never on a diet, and my Aunt Helen was corpulent. Hey, I did it! My Aunt Helen would always let us stay up and watch Saturday Night Live when she was babysitting or when she was living with us and my parents went to another couple's house to get drunk and play board games. When I was very little, I remember going to sleep while my brother and sister and Aunt Helen watched Love Boat and Fantasy Island. I could never stay awake when I was that little, and I wish I could because my brother and sister talk about those moments sometimes. Maybe it's sad that these are now memories, and maybe it's not sad. Maybe it's just the fact that we loved Aunt Helen, especially me, and this was the time we could spend with her. I won't start listing television episode memories except one because I guess we're on the subject, and it seems like something everyone can relate to in a small way. And since I don't know you, I figure that maybe I can write about something that you can relate to. The family was sitting around watching the final episode of MASH, and I'll never forget it, even though I was very young. My mom was crying, my sister was crying, my brother was using every ounce of strength he had not to cry, and my dad left during one of the final moments to make a sandwich. Now, I don't remember much about the program itself because I was too young, but my dad never left to make a sandwich except during commercial breaks, and then he usually just sent my mom. I walked into the kitchen and I saw my dad making a sandwich and crying. He was crying harder than even my mom, and I couldn't believe it. When he finished making his sandwich, he put away the things in the refrigerator and stopped crying and wiped his eyes and saw me. And then he walked up, patted my shoulder, and said, "This is our little secret, okay, champ?" "Okay," I said. And Dad picked me up with the arm that wasn't holding the sandwich, and he carried me into the room that had the television and put me on his lap for the rest of the television episode. At the end of the episode, he picked me up, turned off the TV, and turned around. My dad declared, "That was a great series." And my mom said, "The best." And my sister asked, "How long was it on the air?" And my brother replied, "9 years, stupid." And my sister responded, "You're stupid." And my dad said, "Stop it right now." And my mom said, "Listen to your father." And my brother said nothing. And my sister said nothing. And years later, I found out my brother was wrong. I went to the library to look up the figures. And I found out that the episode we watched was the highest watched anything in television history, which I find amazing because it felt just like the five of us. You know, a lot of kids in school hate their parents. Some of them got hit. Some of them got caught in the middle of wrong lives. Some of them are trophies for their parents to show the neighbors, like ribbons or gold stars. Some of them just wanted to drink in peace. For me personally, as much as I don't mind my mom and dad, and as much as I feel sorry for both of them sometimes, I can't help but love them very much. My mom drives to visit the cemetery of the people that she loves. My dad cried during MASH and trusted me to keep his secret and let me sit on his lap and called me champ. Incidentally, I have only one cavity, and as much as my dentist asked me to, I just can't bring myself to floss. Love always, Charlie. October 6, 1991. Dear friend, I feel very ashamed. I went to the high school football game the other day, and I don't know exactly why. In middle school, Michael and I would go to the games sometimes, even though neither of us was popular enough to go. It was just a place to go on Fridays when we didn't want to watch television. Sometimes we would see Susan there. She and Michael would hold hands. Excuse me. But this time, I went alone because Michael is gone and Susan hangs around different boys now, and Bridget is still crazy. Carl's mom sent him to a Catholic school, and Dave, with the awkward glasses, moved away. I was just kind of watching people, seeing who was in love and who was hanging around, and I saw that kid I told you about. Remember Nothing? Nothing was there at the football game, and he was one of the few people who was not an adult who was actually watching the game. I mean, really watching the game. He would yell things out. "Come on, Brad!" That's the name of our quarterback. Now, normally I'm very shy, but Nothing seemed like the kind of guy you could just walk up to at a football game, even though you were 3 years younger and not popular. "Hey, you're in my shop class." He's a very friendly person. "Charlie," I said, not too shy. "I'm Patrick. And this is Sam. He pointed to a very pretty girl next to him, and she waved at me. Hey, Charlie. Sam had a very nice smile. They both told me to have a seat, and they both seemed to mean it, so I took a seat. I listened to Nothing yell at the field, and I listened to his play-by-play analysis, and I figured out that this was a kid who knew football very well. He actually knew football as well as my brother. Maybe I should call Nothing Patrick from now on, since that's how he introduced himself, and that's what Sam calls him. Incidentally, Sam has brown hair and very, very pretty green eyes, the kind of green that doesn't make a big deal about itself. I would have told you sooner, but under the stadium lights, everything looked kind of washed out. It wasn't until we went to the big boy and Sam and Patrick started to chain smoke that I got a good look at her. The nice thing about the big boy was the fact that Patrick and Sam didn't just throw around inside jokes and make me struggle to keep up. Not at all. They asked me questions. How old are you, Charlie? 15. What do you want to do when you grow up? I don't know just yet. What's your favorite band? I think maybe the Smiths because I love their song Asleep, but I'm never really sure one way or the other because I don't know any songs by them too well. What's your favorite meal? I don't know, really. They're all the same to me. How about your favorite book? This Side of Paradise by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Why? Because it was the last one I read. This made them laugh because they knew I meant it honest and not show off. And then they told me their favorites and we sat quiet. I ate the pumpkin pie because the lady said it was in season and Patrick and Sam smoked more cigarettes. I looked at them and they looked really happy together. A good kind of happy. And even though I thought Sam was very pretty and nice and she was the first girl I'd ever wanted to ask on a date someday when I can drive, I didn't mind that she had a boyfriend, especially if it was a good guy like Patrick. How long have you been going out? I asked. And then they started laughing, really laughing hard. What's so funny? I said. We're brother and sister, Patrick said, still laughing. But you don't look alike, I said. That's when Sam explained that they were actually stepsister and stepbrother since Patrick's dad married Sam's mom. I was very happy to know that because I would really like to ask Sam on a date someday. I really would. She's so nice. I felt ashamed though because that night I had a weird dream. I was with Sam and we were both naked and her legs were spread over the sides of the couch. And I woke up and I'd never felt that good in my life. But I also felt bad because I saw her naked without her permission. I think I should tell Sam about this, and I really hope it doesn't prevent us from maybe making up inside jokes of our own. It would be nice to have a friend again. I would like that even more than a date. Love always, Charlie.